Hello everyone. Today we are going to continue with hydrogen bonding and metallic bonding. Important areas of what? Hydrogen bonding and metallic bonding. So hydrogen bonding means what I told you, the bond between the weak electrostatic attraction between hydrogen atom of one molecule and more electronegative atom of the other molecule of same substance or the other substance. That is hydrogen bonding, weak attraction force. And here the hydrogen bonding in different molecules they ask you. So the questions based on hydrogen bonding in different types of molecules they ask. Okay. So in that cases now here, what we have to understand is that the important question is that in copper sulfate 5H2O, in CuSO4 5H2O, that is blue vitriol we know. What is this compound? Blue vitriol. So in this blue vitriol, how many, okay, in blue vitriol, how many water molecules are there? 5H2O there. In this 5H2O, how many atoms, how many molecules of H2O will be bonded to copper, okay, with hydrogen bonding they ask you. Okay, so there will be two types of bonding between copper and water molecules here. There will be two types of bonding. One is dative bond, the other is hydrogen bond. Dative bond is nothing but coordinate covalent bond, and second type of bond is what? Hydrogen bond. So what I'm saying is that in copper sulfate, copper is what? Positive ion, Cu plus 2 ion, copper ion. And SO4 minus 2 is what? Anion, copper sulfate. In this copper sulfate, Cu plus 2 is central metal ion. Remember, in this structure, this Cu plus 2 is central metal ion like this. Central metal ion, not atom. It is central metal ion with positive charge, plus 2 charge. Now, what happens is that this central metal ion will act as what? Electron pair acceptor. Remember, this is what? Electron pair acceptor. Electron pair acceptor means electron deficient. It is electron deficient, we can say, or electron pair acceptor, we can say. So this is acting as Lewis acid here. What is this called? Lewis acid. So electron pair acceptor is called what? Lewis acid. So Lewis acid is what now? Cu plus 2. Lewis acid meaning what? What I told you? Electron pair acceptor. Electron pair acceptor is called what? Lewis acid. And now here, when this Cu plus 2 acts as electron pair acceptor, there should be electron pair donor, right? There should be electron pair donor. If you take this water molecule, H2O, H2O shape is what? Bent shape. H2O molecule has what? Bent, B-E-N-T, angular shape. Now in H2O, what is central atom? Oxygen is central atom. So here, oxygen has how many lone pairs on it? In water molecule, there will be two lone pairs, remember. Already we discussed that in chemical bond, there are two lone pairs of electrons on oxygen atom in water molecule. Now what happens is that this oxygen atom is acting as what now here? Electron pair donor. Electron pair donor it is. And the Cu plus 2 acts as what? Electron pair acceptor. Right, ma? So now here, between H2O and the Cu plus 2, there will be a type of bond called, chemical bond called dative bond. Dative, otherwise coordinate covalent bond. What does this arrow mark indicate here? Coordinate covalent bond, otherwise dative bond. In the formation of dative bond, this acceptor atom does not give, acceptor species does not contribute any electrons for bonding. But the donor atom contributes 2 electrons. The electron pair will be contributed by donor only. This acceptor does not contribute any electrons for formation of the bond. That point keep in mind. So it is coordinate covalent bond. Generally, coordinate covalent compounds have the properties in between what? Ionic compounds and covalent compounds. Between ionic compounds and covalent compounds, the properties of coordinate covalent compounds will be there. That point keep in mind. Now here, H2O is acting as electron pair donor. That is why it is what now? Lewis acid. It acts as what now here? Lewis base. Lewis base means electron pair donor. Lewis acid means electron pair acceptor. Here Cu plus 2 acts as what? Electron pair acceptor or receiver, we can say. Receiver acceptor. That is Lewis acid. Electron pair donor is what now? Lewis base. So what is Lewis base here? Electron pair donor. That point keep in mind. electron pair donor is called Lewis base. Now between Lewis base and Lewis acid, which type of bonding is possible? There will be dative bond. So here don't take this one dative bond here. So this one I have taken this one. So Cu plus 2 as what? Lewis acid. So Cu plus 2 acts as what? Lewis acid here. And this bond indicates what? Dative bond between water molecule and Cu plus 2. Like this, totally how many dative bonds with water? 4 dative bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4 dative bonds. So 4 water molecules here, H2O, H2O, H2O and H2O. 4 water molecules have donated their electron pairs. Each water molecule has donated 1 electron pair only, remember. Here, though 2 electron pairs are there on oxygen atom in water, 1 electron pair only will be donated. So here this H2O donating 1 electron pair, this H2O donates 1 electron pair out of 2 pairs. Here also this oxygen donates 1 electron pair. This oxygen also donates 1 electron pair. So totally, how many pairs are received by the Cu plus 2? 4 electron pairs. 4 electron pairs are received from 4 water molecules. Now to receive 4 electron pairs, there should be empty orbitals in the Cu plus 2, right? In Cu plus 2, there should be empty orbitals. The empty orbitals, the orbitals will receive what? These electrons from H2O molecules. That point keep in mind. So in this way, between 4 water molecules and Cu plus 2, there is the formation of what? Dative bond. So 4 H2O molecules are bonded to Cu plus 2 with coordinate bonds, coordinate covalent bonds or dative bonds. Okay, now next point what we have to understand is that each H2O here, this Lewis base, will also act as here ligand. What is called? L-I-G-A-N-D. Ligand or ligand, whatever you want, you can pronounce. Okay, so ligand or ligand. Okay, so how many ligands here around the Cu plus 2? 4 ligands there here. 4 ligands, H2O molecule. Okay, so each ligand is donating how many electron pairs? 1 electron pair. So like this, 4 H2O ligands form 4 dative bonds, 4 coordinate bonds with Cu plus 2 ion. That is central metal ion. Now this total square bracket indicates what here? Coordination complex, we say. Coordination complex. Because of presence of which bonding? Coordinate bonding. Because of presence of coordinate covalent bond, this total square bracket acts as what here? Coordination complex. And now if you observe this only square bracket, within the square bracket here, H2O molecules, how many there? 4 H2O here, 1 H2O, we will discuss about this later. 1 H2O here, 4 H2O here. Each H2O molecule means neutrally charged. Every H2O is neutrally charged, 0 charged. Okay, neutral ligand it is. H2O acts as what here? Not charged, neutral ligand. Why H2O is neutral ligand here? Because it is not having any charge, no positive, no negative charge totally for this molecule. So how many neutral ligands here? 4 neutral ligands with each 0 charge. And Cu plus 2 central metal ion has plus 2 charge. Now within the square bracket, if you take plus 2 on copper, 0 charge on each H2O. Now overall charge is what now? Plus 2. The net charge of this total square bracket is what? Plus 2. The net charge is what? Plus 2. That means, is it coordinate covalent cation or anion? Cation it is. Wait, so it is complex cation, we say. What we say? Complex cation. Whenever the net charge is positive charge, then it is called what now? The total square bracket is called what now here? Complex cation. So because of plus charge here, it is called what now? This total square bracket is called what now here? Complex cation. Okay, so complex cation is formed like this. Now, if you take one more H2O, here H2O again bent shape. H2O molecule is what? Bent shape here. So oxygen has what? 2 covalent bonds already, and 2 dative bonds will be formed here. So this oxygen atom has what? 1 lone pair here, 1 lone pair here, suppose 2 lone pairs on each oxygen atom. Now, what happens is that one hydrogen bonding with the hydrogen here. This oxygen forms hydrogen bonding with another hydrogen here. So here this side one hydrogen bonding, this side one hydrogen bonding. That means this water molecule now, this water molecule is bonded to what? This complex. That means what we have to say is that with this Cu plus 2 indirectly, how many water molecules linked by hydrogen bonding? with the Cu plus 2? One only. Only one H2O. One H2O molecule is linked to this complex ion with what? Hydrogen bonding. This dotted lines indicate what? Dotted lines indicate hydrogen bonding. The solid line indicates what? Covalent bond. The arrow mark indicates what? Coordinate covalent bond or dative bond. This arrow mark is dative bond, coordinate covalent bond. The dash is what? Only covalent bond. And this dotted line indicates what here? Three dots indicate what here? Hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding. Is that clear now? So in this way, what we have to understand is that one H2O molecule is added to copper with hydrogen bonding. Remaining four H2O molecules combined to this copper with dative bonds, with coordinate bonds. So that is the question, important question to be asked here. So how many water molecules are linked to copper with dative bonds? 4. How many bonded with copper with hydrogen bonding? 1. So that is the answer here. Okay, now if we take this H2O, one H2O formed what? Hydrogen bond with copper. That one keep in mind. Next, the same H2O has hydrogen and hydrogen here. Now these two hydrogens will form two hydrogen bonds with O minus ions of what? Oxygen atoms of what? SO4 minus 2. This total ion is what? SO4 minus 2. Minus 1, minus 1, minus 2. SO4 minus 2 it is. Okay, in SO4 minus 2, with oxygen atoms, hydrogen bonds are formed by these hydrogens. These two hydrogens of the same water molecule will form two hydrogen bonds with two oxygen atoms of SO4 minus 2 radical. SO4 minus 2 radical means this. So in this SO4 minus 2, central atom is what? Sulfur. Between oxygen and sulfur, which is less electronegative? Sulfur is less electronegative. Therefore, sulfur is what? Central atom here. The sulfur forms double bond with oxygen, then single bond with O minus, single bond with O minus. Why this oxygen has got -1 charge here? Oxygen should be having actually 2 bonds. Oxygen is bivalent atom. Oxygen is what? Bivalent atom means each oxygen should be having generally 2 bonds. But here oxygen has only how many? 1 bond. Still 1 bond is deficient here. 1 bond is to be present here still. That's why -1 we have taken. 1 bond is less than here, so we have taken -1. And here also oxygen has only 1 bond. Still 1 more bond should be there. That's why -1 here. This oxygen already has got 2 bonds. Oxygen is bivalent. Oxygen atom needs 2 bonds. Already 2 bonds there here for each atom. So this atom is neutrally charged. This atom is neutrally charged. The formal charge on this atom is 0. The formal charge on this atom is 0. The formal charge on this single bonded oxygen is -1. Here also -1. So that point we have to keep in mind. So in this way, what we have to understand is that between O minus atoms, between O minus and the hydrogen atoms of water molecule, there will be hydrogen bonding. So now what we have to say that this H2O, one H2O molecule linked to this copper and also linked to what? Sulfate. So sulfate is linked and to this water molecule, copper is linked indirectly. So in this way, what we have to understand is that this oxygen atom has around it 2 covalent bonds or what is dative bonds. These the dashes indicate what? Covalent bonds. 2 covalent bonds are there, 2 hydrogen bonds are there. Around this oxygen, 2 hydrogen bonds, 2 covalent bonds. That point keep in mind. So it's about the structure of what? Blue vitriol. Blue vitriol formula what? CuSO4 5H2O. This solution has what? When you dissolve copper sulfate in water, we get this crystal. This crystal is what? Now blue in color. So it is called blue vitriol. Blue vitriol. Okay. Only copper sulfate if you take, suppose, that is white in color. Only anhydrous copper sulfate without water. Anhydrous copper sulfate crystal will be, only copper sulfate crystal will be white solid. When you dissolve that in water, it gets which color? The solution becomes blue in color. That's why it is what? Blue vitriol. The same thing we can also write like this. CuSO4 5H2O we can write, or CuSO4 5H2O we can also write in this formula here. Now copper and H2O, 4H2O bonded with what? Coordinate covalent bond. So 4H2O, 4 ligands are bonded with what now? 4 ligands are bonded with what is coordinate covalent bond. Coordinate covalent bond. And one H2O bonded with what? Hydrogen bonding. And between this H2O and this SO4 minus 2 also, there is what? There is. Between these also, there is what? Hydrogen bonding. So in this way, we have to understand what? The structure of copper sulfate, 5H2O, CuSO4. Okay. Means copper sulfate, 5H2O, we can understand like this. Okay. So just a moment, 1 minute. So in question, what is the important thing to understand here? In copper sulfate 5H2O, how many water molecules are linked with the hydrogen bonding? How many water molecules are linked with the coordinate covalent bonding is the important question. So next, if you take the ice, example of ice, ice is what now here? Ice contains which molecules? Water molecules, H2O molecules only. The solid water is what? Ice. So in the ice again, if you observe, each H2O molecule, each water molecule has totally 4 hydrogen bonds around it. Each water molecule in ice contains how many hydrogen bonds around it? Ma? One water molecule can form total number of hydrogen bonds. How many? 4 hydrogen bonds. You check it here. H2O bent shape, angular shape molecule, V-shaped molecule. In H2O, oxygen is central atom, and the hydrogen cannot form central atom always. Hydrogen can never form central atom. Fluorine also can never form central atom. Here oxygen is central atom, and here this oxygen has what? Lone pairs, 2 lone pairs. Number of lone pairs on oxygen is 2 here. Now this lone pair will form one hydrogen bond with H of another water molecule. This lone pair will form hydrogen bond with hydrogen of another water molecule. And here the hydrogen will form hydrogen bond with oxygen of another water molecule. This hydrogen also forms hydrogen bond with oxygen of another water molecule. So in this way, if you observe one water molecule, it has formed totally how many hydrogen bonds? 4 hydrogen bonds. So 1, 2, 3, 4 hydrogen bonds. That point is important. Next thing, around oxygen atom in ice, around each oxygen, how many covalent, how many dative, how many hydrogen bonds? How many coordinate, how many dative, how many hydrogen bonds here around this? Only around this oxygen atom. Around this single oxygen atom, 2 hydrogen bonds there, 2 covalent bonds there, and 0 dative bonds here. 0 dative bonds. Arrow mark is not there here. So number of dative bonds were 0 here. Number of covalent bonds around this atom of oxygen, 2. Number of hydrogen bonds, 2. Is that clear, ma'am? So in this way, we have to understand what now here, the important questions related to hydrogen bonding. Okay, ma'am? So hydrogen bonding is weak intermolecular attractive force. So this hydrogen bond is possible only between what and what? Between hydrogen atom of one molecule and oxygen atom of another water molecule. Or in place of oxygen, what we can take? Fluorine and nitrogen also we can take. Sometimes what also will form? Sometimes what will form? Sometimes this one, what is this? Chlorine also forms what? Hydrogen bonding. Okay. So with the help of PP, yesterday we stopped metallic bond at some slide. Okay. That we'll discuss. So generally metallic bond, how it is formed? Metallic bond is between metal ions, the attractive force between metal ions and what? Metal ions and electron pool. Electron pool. All metals will lose electrons, I told na? All metals are electropositive in nature. So the electropositive metals will lose what? Electrons to form what? Metal ions. Positive ions. Between positive ions and that electrons, so what will be there? Attractive force will be there. That attractive force is called what? Metallic bonding. So yesterday we have discussed all these things here. In metal crystal, one atom is surrounded by what? 8 atoms or 12 metal atoms. How we understood this one? By X-ray study of metal crystals, we understood this one. And here in metal, there are very less number of few electrons, valence electrons. 1 or 2 or 3 electrons will be there in the metal valence shell. That's a very, very less number of valence electrons are there. Therefore, suppose one atom is surrounded by 8 atoms of metal. Now this atom, this metal atom with less number of valence electrons cannot form 8 covalent bonds with 8 atoms now. Around it, 8 atoms there. With 8 atoms, this atom, central atom, cannot form what? 8 covalent bonds, because number of valence electrons is very less. 8 valence electrons not there here. So that is the point to understand about what? Why metal cannot form 8 or 12 covalent bonds with surrounding atoms, because of very less number of valence electrons in metal. That is one thing. And also what we have to understand, all the metal atoms are identical in sodium. Suppose you take sodium metal, in that sodium metal crystal, all are sodium atoms only. There is no difference in electronegativity. So these atoms cannot be linked by electrovalent bonds. Ionic bonds cannot be used here. So all have same electronegativity here. All metal atoms have what? Same electronegativity. Therefore, they cannot form what? Electrovalent bond. That is one thing to understand. And also next, what we have to understand, in metals, the atoms are bonded with each other with a special type of bonding known as what? Metallic bonding. And who proposed the metallic bonding theory? Drude in 1900, and it was developed by Lorentz in what? 1923. Okay. And also this theory is given name what? Yesterday we discussed electron cloud theory, or electron pool theory, otherwise electron gas theory. Okay. So these all what theories, names of theories given to metallic bonding here. And since the metals are electropositive in nature and their ionization energies are very low, okay, they readily lose what? The metals readily lose their valence electrons and converted into what? Positive ions. As they are forming positive ions easily, they are called electropositive elements. Electropositive elements. And now next thing what we have to understand is that the electrons lost by each and every metal atom in the metal crystal move. The electrons will move from place to place through what? Through empty valence orbitals of the closed, okay, what is closely spaced or closed particles, metal ion, particles of metal ions. Means all the closely packed metal ions, all the closely packed metal ions will be what you are having what? Empty orbitals. That empty orbitals will be, okay, used to pass what now here? These electrons. That electrons lost by all the metal atoms will be passing through what? The empty valence orbitals of metal. Example we discussed yesterday. In sodium, there are 3p empty orbitals, 3d empty orbitals. 3s1 only is filled. Remaining orbitals 3p and 3d are empty orbitals. Through that empty orbitals of sodium, what will be passing? These electrons will be moving through. The electrons move through the empty valence orbitals of metal ions and shared simultaneously among all of them. That electrons moving through empty orbitals will be shared by all the atoms in that metal crystal, not only by one atom. Thus, these electrons link all the atoms together, forming a characteristic type of bond called metallic bond. This type of bond, which is joining all the metal species in the metal crystal, is called what? Metallic bonding. As the shared electrons are delocalized. Delocalized means fixed to one position, or they are moving from one place to other place. They are moving from one place to other place. So as the shared electrons among the all atoms are moving from one place to other place, as they are delocalized, the metallic bond has neither direction nor saturation. Okay, so there is no particular saturation, and also there is no what? There is no direction property for metallic bonding, because electrons are continuously moving in all the directions, not in specific direction. That's why it is non-directional bond. Ionic bond also is what? Non-directional bond. Metallic bond is non-directional bond. Covalent bond and coordinate covalent bond are what? Directional bonds. And there are two essential conditions for metallic bond to form. Okay, the first condition is that the metal atom should have what? Low ionization potential. Low ionization energy should be there for metal atom. Then only it will form what? Metallic bonding effectively. And there should be sufficient number of vacant orbitals in the valence shell. In the outermost orbit of metal, there should be large number of empty orbitals to allow what? The delocalized electrons to pass through. To allow the delocalized electrons to pass through the empty orbitals, the metal should contain what? Sufficient number of vacant orbitals in the outermost orbit. And the bonding which binds the metal atoms firmly means strongly, together on account of the force of attraction between metal ions, positive ions, and the mobile electrons, means negative electrons. Between positive ions and mobile negative electrons is called what? The attractive force is called metallic bonding. The strength of the metallic bond depends on what? Number of valence electrons and charge on the nucleus. More the charge on the nucleus and more the number of valence electrons, stronger is the bond. So as these increase, as the number of valence electrons and charge on the nucleus, both when they increase, the metallic bond becomes what? Stronger. It provides an answer to the fact that all metals are soft. All metals are soft and have what? Low melting and boiling points. Low melting and boiling points. While transition metals have what now? They are very hard and have what? High melting and boiling points. In transition metals means d block elements, the number of valence electrons will be more and also nuclear charge will be greater. Then what happens? Stronger metallic bond will be formed between transition metal atom and transition metal atom. Between two transition metal atoms, the metallic bond is stronger. That's why they are very hard in nature, and also they are having what? High melting and boiling points. So the metallic bond is usually a strong bond. This explains what? The hardness and high melting and high boiling point of what? These metals. And some properties and the explanation of metals we'll discuss. Suppose if you take property of density. So metals are dense. Why the metals are dense? Why they have more density? Because the particles present in metals are tightly packed, closely packed in the lattice, in the crystal lattice, in the crystal solid. All the metals are tightly packed. That's why density is very high. Density means mass by volume here. Okay. Next, metals have high melting and boiling points. Why they have high melting and boiling point is that strong forces of attraction exist between the particles of metals. Okay, a large amount of energy is required. Okay, large amount of energy is required to overcome what? The strong attractive force between the positive ions and electrons. Between the electrons and positive ions of metal, there is metallic bond. Now, to overcome this metallic bond, large amount of energy is required here to break that attractive force. So these forces operate throughout what? The lattice. Lattice means what here? The crystal lattice, crystal structure. Okay, in the crystal structure, the electrons are moving throughout the crystal. And also this force of attraction between the electrons and the positive ions will be having what? Metallic bond. That metallic bond should be broken down by giving large amount of heat energy. Then only they will be melted and boiled. So boiling point is high and melting point is high. And next property what? Metals are good conductors of heat. Why they are good conductors of heat is that delocalized electrons transmit, they transmit the energy of vibration of what? Positive ions to its neighbors. From one positive vibrating positive ion to other vibrating positive ion, the heat energy will be transmitted. The heat energy will be transmitted from one positive ion of metal to the other positive ion of the metal. So this way, they are good conductors of what? Heat. That's why we say thermally they are very good conductors. Thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity means what? Conductivity of heat energy is very high for metals. And next property is what? Metals are good conductors of electricity. Why they are good conductors of electricity is that the mobile delocalized electrons, they are moving from one place to other place. So they are called delocalized electrons within the lattice. Okay, so within the lattice, these electrons are there, mobile electrons. These mobile electrons are responsible for the electrical conductivity of metals. So electrons flow in and out, and the same number of flow of electrons will be taking place from one end to other end. Suppose left to right, 10 electrons are moving, right to left, 10 electrons will be moving, and the moving electrons, mobile electrons, will be conducting what? Electric charges. Next, metals are malleable and ductile. Ductility means what? The metals can be drawn into wires. The metals can be drawn into thin wire. That is called ductility property. And metals can be beaten into sheets. When you beat the metal, okay, the metal will convert into metal sheet. So getting the metal sheets from metals by beating the metals is called what? Malleability. Malleability and ductility. Why the metals are more malleable and more ductile? Because the distortion does not disrupt the metallic bonding. When you hit the metal to get into metal sheet, to convert into metal sheet, okay, when you hit it, when you distort, when you hit hardly, there is distortion here. This distortion does not disrupt what? Does not break what? The metallic bonding. Metallic bonding is not disrupted, not dissociated when we hit it, when we hit the metal to get what? Sheets. That's why they are very good at malleability and ductility. And metals are lustrous. Lustrous means what? Shining. Okay, when light falls on the surface of metal, the metal shines. The shining surface is due to what? Electrons again here. So the presence of free electrons cause most of the metals to reflect what now here? Light. That's why they are what? Shining. They are shining. But non-metals are what? Transparent. Non-metals are transparent. When light falls on non-metals, the light will be allowed to pass. So no reflection takes place there. But metals will reflect the light. The reflected light will be appeared as what? Shining light. So in this way, you have to understand metallic bonding and hydrogen bonding. Okay, ma'am. Bye. Good day. Today I am sending this PPT. Please go through it.